is the Big Stories Podcast, where we tell the amazing and inspiring stories from across the Big 12 Conference.
I'm your host, Cleon Wall, and we are wrapping up another season of the Big Stories Podcast. We had an ambitious goal for this season's podcast. We wanted to gather two amazing tales from each Big 12 school while supplementing the podcast with great on-the-field and on-the-court insight from podcasters around the Big 12. We had to do some rejiggering of the podcasts along the way, but on the whole, I think we accomplished our goals. Okay, so we didn't quite get to two stories for every school, but we sure came close. Now, 4 schools only got the Big Stories treatment one time this season. That was West Virginia, Houston, Kansas, and Texas Tech. We thought about finding stories for those schools, but I decided we needed to end this season and look forward to next season. And I know we're going to bring some amazing stories to you from every school next season. We'll have more on that topic coming up in next week's episode. As for today, I invited producer Brandon Thorpe into the studio to discuss, kind of like a behind-the-scenes peek into some of our favorite moments into season number 3. Now, I'm going to say, when I say some of our favorite moments, it's not necessarily that these were our favorite episodes. These are just some of our favorite moments. I like telling the stories for all the episodes that we had on Big Stories. It's just that some of them stuck out a little bit more. There were some moments in there that just really kind of stuck with us a little bit. So without further ado, let's jump in. Brandon is joining me here. He has been my producer since December. Brandon, say hi.
How's it going, everyone?
Okay.
Good to be here.
Great introduction. Anyway, because he came in the middle of the season, he's going to focus his favorite moments on the second half of the season. I'm going to focus my moments on the first half of season 3, and we'll just kind of mix and match from there and just kind of see how things go. So we're going to start off with Brandon first. Brandon, what was one of your favorite or inspiring moments from season 3?
Yeah, one of them for me was learning about the story of Troy DeJudy and his family. We originally heard about Troy's story in a YouTube video that talked about his tradition of wearing a Darth Vader costume to Iowa State football games to honor his young son and daughter who died in a tragic car accident at ages 5 and 5 months. But as we looked deeper into the story, we learned about his connection to the Bowers family from Lehi, Utah. And their son, Landon, was the recipient of Claire's heart after Troy made the challenging decision to donate his kids' organs shortly after their passing. And when I learned about that aspect of the story with the Bowers family, a light bulb went off in my head, and I realized this story could really touch a lot of people's lives. Because it was very inspiring to see how special of a relationship Troy has with Landon. Many people never meet their donor families, but they've stayed in touch over the years, and Landon even flew out to stay with Troy for a week in Iowa, and Troy has been able to witness firsthand the incredible legacy of his daughter's gift, seeing her heart live on through the Bowers family.
We spent a couple days with me and my wife at our house, and we did Iowa things.
It was very fun. We went boating. I got to drive the boat.
It was a very unique experience, very surreal. And it's just sort of, again, just escalated that experience one more level.
I mean, they have done so much for me, and just wanted to spend time with them.
But for Troy, nothing could compare to the first time he met the Bowers when Landon was almost 3 years old.
Listening to his heart, that is sort of the pinnacle. And, one of the things I think I told him, was, this is your heart. It's not Claire's heart, it's your heart. And the only thing that we asked is that you do the best with it you can for as long as you can. Because at that point, you don't know, right? Like, organ transplants is not an exact science. Some people respond better.
He's using her beautiful gift of her heart to the best of his ability, and takes the best care of it he possibly can.
This story is truly the perfect example of turning tragedy into hope. And when you get to know Troy, you realize he really is one of the most selfless people out there.
I think for me, it kind of goes along with what you said, meaning I was having a hard time with this story because I love the story, but ESPN had done a story on it. And I'm like, how do I beat that? I mean, a lot of people know about Troy and what happened to his family because of an ESPN like mini documentary that they did for ESPN Game Day. And so I was like, what do we do here? And so as Brandon reached out and found out about the Bowers family, that's like, oh, there's our hook right there. I didn't know, because naturally what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk to Troy, but we wanted to talk to other people. And he brought up the Bowers, did he not?
Yep. Yeah, he said, I have this connection to this family that actually their mom attended BYU, they're from Utah, and, their son Landon got Claire's heart, and it was just this whole other dimension of the story that we were able to touch on and share with our audience. And
it was fun because we not only got to talk to Landon, but we got to talk to his mom too, and they've since moved to Washington State, but it was fun to talk to them and just to see the relationship they have. It's not a typical donor-recipient relationship. I mean, a lot of times these things happen, at least how Troy described it, is these things happen, and you might get a card or a letter every once in a while. But, I mean, they've seen each other at different amusement parks. They've done other things together, and I think the sweetest part was definitely when Landon went and stayed. He says, I want to go, and he calls them his heart family, by the way. Mm-hmm. He's like, I want to go stay with my heart family for a week, and so they made arrangements to do that. All right, one of my favorite moments was actually the first story that we told on this third season of Big Stories, and that's Chris Botts. I really wanted to tell this story because, first of all, he is a principal in Kansas, and he was the principal of Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson. And Avery wanted to raise money for him, but I didn't want to focus just on that little aspect of it of, hey, we're just raising money. I wanted to find out who this guy is and why Avery Johnson would say, I want to raise money for this guy. And so Chris, I got to know Chris a little bit better, how he ended up becoming how he went into teaching, how he became a principal, and why kids love him so much. And they kind of talk about that in the story. They kind of talk about how he relates to kids and everything like that. Well, he has developed a certain form of cancer, and it's a rare one. And he was having to fly down to Houston from Kansas. He still does every once in a while to get treatment. And Avery just said, hey, I want to raise some money for him. And so for every touchdown that I score, hopefully you will donate money. And, if people remember back from last season, he had a poor game against BYU, and the BYU fans decided to jump in. And I think that's a really good part of the story. But in reality, I wanted to find out more about Chris and why Avery would do something like this. And so it's a great story. By the way, the thing that happened with BYU, Brandon, is that he said that really humbled him, and that people would care about him, especially people who don't know him that well, that people would care about him that much. And so one of my last questions for him in the interview was what he and others will learn from this trial in his life.
Yeah. So it initially started, man, I hope I can get my kids through graduation. And then the weddings. You want to walk your daughter down the aisle, and then you want to see your son, find his mate someday. So those are little things, milestones, I guess, that I hope that I can see, which I didn't think was going to be possible without all of the prayers, without the new drugs, without God empowering the scientists to come up with new things every day. I mean, this is all God, and he's doing miracles.
So what I appreciated about Chris is that he's a guy that's not looking for notoriety. It's not like he was saying, hey, look at me over here, please raise money for my cause. He's not that. He just wants to help kids out. And because he wants to help kids out, those kids recognize that, and they want to do something back for him. It's not even a quid pro quo. It's not like they're saying, hey, if I do something nice for you, you can do something nice for me. Chris is just a guy who just wants to do good things for students. And those students recognize that, and they want to help him out too. All right, Brandon, what's your story number 2?
Okay, story number 2 for me is out of Oklahoma State. It is Stacy McDaniel and the Cleats for Kids Foundation. Stacy has an incredible story. Her and her husband, Mark, are very generous people, and we learned that quickly upon interviewing her. She told us her story of noticing youth that wouldn't participate in sports at their local recreation center because they didn't have the equipment. And they would sit on the sidelines and just watch the other kids playing. And so her and her husband, Mark, decided to do something about it. They decided to ask around, find people who were willing to donate, use gear so that these kids could play. And this idea didn't just stop there. I think that's the most inspiring thing for me from this story is that they grew it, and they just keep wanting more and more. They want to help more and more people. So it grew from just a few boxes in their garage to a statewide organization that ensures that no kids in Oklahoma miss out on sports due to a lack of equipment. And it really was very touching to hear stories of the specific people they've helped, such as a track athlete that was running in worn-down dress shoes, or a mom with 5 kids who they later found out couldn't even afford basketball shoes because that would mean that they wouldn't be able to have groceries that next week. So the Cleats for Kids Foundation continues to find new and creative ways to collect and distribute this sports gear, and they've touched lives all across Oklahoma.
Even at a young age, for kids to be involved in sports, that brings to bear the self-esteem, the teamwork, the perseverance, being part of something bigger than yourself, all of those life lessons that, carry forward forever.
We've served over 356,000 kids and over 400,000 pieces of equipment that Cleats for Kids has given out. I'll say this, Cleats for Kids is probably one of the greatest hidden secrets in the community.
What's been the most rewarding part of leading this organization?
Seeing the joy in kids where there was not that spark of hope and joy in their eye. When they've got somebody helping them try on a pair of shoes and sizing their foot for the first time, and they feel special, and they ask, when do I have to bring these back? And we get to tell them they're yours, you don't have to. That has been incredibly rewarding, just to see those kids' lives change because they feel seen and loved and special.
Brandon, with this story, I was trying to figure out a way to kind of introduce it to grab people, and it's the fact that this organization started in Oklahoma City. She is an Oklahoma State grad, and she wanted to help people out in Oklahoma City. And she talked to us. I said, hey, what about Oklahoma State helping out? And she talked about, they do drives and stuff like that for us. And I said, I've also heard that the Oklahoma City Thunder help out. And she talked about a specific time that the Thunder came to help out. And I thought, that's how I'm going to start my story, because the Thunder are kind of a big deal right now, being in the NBA playoffs. And so I thought it was really cool to be able to have her talk about how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is a 2-time MVP, spent time with certain athletes and just said, hey, listen, I didn't go through this, but I know people who did go through this, and I am more than willing to take my time to come and talk to you to inspire them, even though none of them are probably going to play NBA basketball or in the NFL or anything like that. But he just wants to inspire them to kind of do the next good thing in their life, and sports can help them out. And I think that's what they recognize the most, is how much sports helps people out. They know that most people aren't going to get jobs in sports, but they sure help kids out in their formative years. And if the thing that's holding them back is a pair of cleats or a pair of shoes or whatever equipment they need, shoulder pads or anything like that, or shin guards for soccer, they want to find a way to help those kids out. And I think that's just, noticing a problem in your community and saying, hey, we want to do something about this. And it just went from this small little thing that went from their garage to now they've got these 2 huge places where people can come and check, kids can come and shop. I'm saying shop with air quotes, come and shop for the equipment that they need and to be able to get that. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right. My next story, funny enough, is also Oklahoma State. Hey, listen, it's not that we think that Oklahoma State is too special. These were just cool stories that we told. Mine is with Cody Stovall. Now, Cody is a guy that I stumbled upon because, as we talked about for this season of Big Stories, we thought, hey, we want to tell basically get in contact with podcasters from around the Big 12 and ask them about how their teams are doing on the field. So we were just going through a bunch of podcasters from all over the Big 12 and trying to find them. And Cody came up, and he works for the Locked On Oklahoma State podcast. And I saw his YouTube videos and stuff like that, but there's really not much you can tell about him. So I'm like, well, let's see if we can, find out more about him from his social media. So I got onto his social media feed, and it just so happened to find out that he only has one leg. And I'm like, well, there might be a story there. And so I just messaged him, and we did something about how Oklahoma State was doing on the field, which, by the way, sorry, Cowboys fans, they were really bad this year. And he kind of talked about that. But I said, hey, Cody, I'm thinking about telling your story and why you're missing your leg. And so I asked him about why he's missing his leg, and then we set up a time for an interview. And then we talked for like over an hour. And Cody's a hard worker. I mean, he was a former small division athlete, decided to leave that, go into the military, work in the oil industry, work as a car salesman. He starts developing blood clots in his leg. And then the next thing you know, they tell him, your leg is so diseased and it's going to get worse unless you get your leg amputated. And this was a guy who was like running almost every single day. And, he lost his leg, and all of a sudden he's now thinking about, well, maybe I'm going to have to switch careers, even though the car dealership said, yeah, we'll take you back whenever you want to come back. But then he heard that the Locked On Network, the Locked On Podcast Network, was hiring, and he decided to go for it, even though he didn't have a degree or any previous experience in broadcasting or podcasting. But this is what he told the Locked On group.
I know you're not going to find very many people that understand Oklahoma State historically the way that I do. And I have a bit of the tism when it comes to remembering statistics. I didn't think that I was going to get the job. I'm just going to be 100% realistic with you. Eventually, they were like, you know what? This is different. And that was one of the reasons I got the job, because I wasn't a traditional media analyst. I wasn't a broadcast journalism degree individual or a sideline reporter. So I do come at things from a little bit more of a fan, former college football player, emotional standpoint.
So Brandon, what I appreciated is you never know the struggles that people go through in their lives. And he never talks about being a one-legged podcaster. I asked him that. I'm like, hey, do you ever talk about this, like on your podcast, that you only have one leg? Have you ever told your story? He goes, nope. I and it's not that he's private. He's just like, it's never occurred to me that I should talk about it. I'm just podcasting. But the one thing is that he never wants people to feel sorry for him. This is just part of life. He's just a regular guy who, we can take inspiration from, because he just puts his head down and he just works hard at what he does. And he's taken his job seriously as a podcaster, and it's kind of expanded out from there. So it's a really, really cool story. You should go listen to the whole thing. I'm giving you a brief overview. You should go listen to the whole episode. All right, back to you, Brandon.
Okay, the next story I want to talk about comes from Baylor, and it's actually the most recent story we did, featuring Caitlin Amos. And I came across an old article from Baylor Athletics that talked about Caitlin's health journey while playing soccer for the Bears. Talked about how she got diagnosed with a heart disease by a cardiologist, and that unfortunately ended her playing days, but she still supported the Bears soccer team by becoming a team manager and motivating the team in practices and before games. And so I thought we should dig a little deeper and see what has happened to Caitlin since her days at Baylor. And I found out she had undergone a heart transplant. She started her own career as a cardiovascular genetic counselor and started helping people who were in the exact same situation she was in. So she kind of made this pivot in the middle of her life where she decided, okay, I've had this experience of going through the diagnosis of a heart disease, meeting with a cardiovascular genetic counselor to learn more about why I have this disease, and I actually want to study that and do this for my career and give back to the people that are in the same situation that I was in.
Basically 3 years, got a new degree and a new heart, and never would have thought that was going to be the story.
What she wants now is to be that kind of miracle for others going through what she went through.
A young guy that I met when I was at Duke, who was diagnosed with heart failure like in his college years, which is such a hard time, and he was really, really upset and affected by that, of course. And so I remember in that appointment that I was meeting with him, he sort of checked all the boxes that I needed to as a genetic counselor. And then I kind of said, like, I'm not your clinician right now. I am like patient to patient. Here's a little bit of my story. If you would if it's helpful to you, if that matters to you, if you want to have more conversation, like, here's my information, you can get in touch. And not as a patient provider, as a patient to patient, we can meet, for coffee and talk about that. And he took me up on that. And so we developed this really sweet friendship.
I think Caitlin's ability to hold space for people, because she's been able to do that for herself, is amazing. She just creates safety for people. Grief has softened Caitlin's heart in a way that makes her so safe and inviting for people. And that's now expressing in her career, which is so beautiful, such a beautiful thread of her life.
This episode really stood out to me because Caitlin demonstrated that health challenges weren't going to stop her from achieving her goals. And listening to her interview, you can tell she has a strong faith in God's plan for her. And she also understands that all the challenges she went through prepared her to care for others in similar positions.
I think it was cool that she recognized. I asked her at the very end of when I interviewed her. By the way, just for folks out there, when we tell these stories, when like Caitlin, I ask her a lot of questions, but she was also very talkative. And that was great. She shared a lot of information. She even said in the interview, I could share way more. And she said, if you want to know more, just ask. But we talked for like an hour and 15 minutes. And in there, near the end of our conversation together, I said, do you recognize all the, you could call them coincidences. I called them miracles that happened in your life, one right after another, that helped her to get to who she is right now. And she's like, oh yeah. She goes, I know that someone up above, that God is watching out for me. And that all these things, though they haven't been easy, they've really helped me out. And she goes, the other thing I've recognized is how people have played a part in being the miracles that I have seen. So yeah, she's got a great story. Go listen to that one too. All right, one of my third favorite moments was actually with Olivia and Rachel Ramey actually only one of them is from the University of Arizona, and that is Olivia Ramey. She is Arizona's soccer goalie, and the Wildcats athletic department decided to post a video. And in that video, Olivia just talks about, I have decided to become a sports psychologist because of what happened to my sister. And she kind of details a little bit about what happened to her sister, but not a ton. And I'm like, I wonder what it would be like if we could talk to Olivia and also say, hey, can we talk to your sister too? And so I was fortunate that and I'll give all credit to me. Thank you very much. Anyway, no. I was fortunate that I saw the video. I looked at Arizona's soccer schedule like right after it or very soon after it and realized they were coming to Provo, Utah to play BYU. And I said, hey, can I actually meet with Olivia like either before or after the match? I don't know what fits better for you. And they said it would be better if you meet her before the match. So I met her at the hotel in the lobby area. They were getting ready to go over and work out over at South Field here at BYU. But they said, you've got about 20 to 25 minutes with her. So I talked to her and I said, would there be a time to talk to her again? And they said, well, we'll see. And I never got to talk to her again, but I got enough good things out of her. And I also asked, would it be possible that I could talk to your sister? And that was amazing. Olivia has so many amazing things to say, but Rachel had other amazing things to say. And just to give you a brief overview, Rachel was a very competitive swimmer, went to the Olympic trials. And when she started her swimming career at the University of Florida, she started to have a lot of mental health issues. In fact, she was having panic attacks and anxiety. And so it was really, really hard for her. And it was an emotional time for the family when Rachel decided to give up swimming.
She would always ask, like, Rachie, are you okay? Are you doing okay? Like, I love you so much.
We had a Jack and Jill bathroom at home, so it was walking across the bathroom to go to her room and just like give her a hug or lay on her bed together or things like that, and just giving her the support and letting her know that I might not have the expertise to help you in any way, but I love you more than you'll ever know, and remind her of that every day and give her the reassurance that you are going to figure this out, and I'm going to help you do that, and just take it step by step each day together. She wasn't a fan of me being close to her at first, but I was like, sorry, you're not losing me. I'm going to be here whether you like it or not.
Whether she, really realizes it or not, it had an impact on me. Just her being there and asking how I was doing and showing that she cared and loved for me was helpful.
I think what I appreciated with this story was the sisterly bond, even though there are several years difference between the two. I think there's like 6 or 7 years difference between the two sisters. There was that bond there between the two, and they're always there for each other. I've never had a sibling, and so it showed how sisters can really love each other during the trying times and also moments of triumph. And I also appreciated how I was able to craft the story around Olivia's game in Provo. It was really fun to be able to do that. The Wildcats lost, but she had a great outlook on struggles she has in her life and how she has learned over time from her sister and also from what she's learned in school, that even though you can give up a few goals in the game, that doesn't mean that it defines your life, and you can still be a good person for your teammates and for other people out there. All right, Brandon.
Okay, last one I want to talk about is from Arizona State and our good friend Roman Roselle. So Roman's story is pretty famous. It's been told quite a bit. USA Today did a documentary on his story. There's a plethora of YouTube videos and articles out there because it's truly amazing. He had a rough childhood that led to a short collegiate wrestling career. He later joined the Army. He became a Green Beret, and then after retiring from the Army, he became the oldest Division I walk-on athlete when he walked onto the wrestling team at Arizona State. And that's what all those articles and videos focus on, is that moment when he retired from the Army and he became that walk-on wrestler at the age of 34. And while we were learning about this story, we noticed on his social media that a lot of things happened in his life since he stopped wrestling at Arizona State. For example, he moved to Florida. He was very open about his mental and physical health struggles. He talked about going through a divorce with his ex-wife. And we thought, well, why don't we tell this story from a different angle? Why don't we learn about what happened in his life after all the lights and cameras went away?
I kind of stopped taking care of myself. I didn't even get an annual checkup for 2 years. I accrued a lot of debt in that divorce because everything was in my name. And so I had a timeshare that got taken away. My car got repoed. You couldn't even get approved for an apartment or stuff like that. I was in a camper. We hooked it up on my grandpa's property just so I could go to school. I was I just need a place where one of my kids can come. But people look at me oh, now he's in a camper. He's 300-something pounds and he's going to school to be a therapist. Who's he helping? January 2024, I was I need a reset. I was even though I'm a clinician at this point, God showed little signs of this treatment center. And they deal with veterans, first responders, law enforcement. I was maybe I just need to be around like-minded people who I used to be with.
Roman checked into the Warriors Heart Treatment Center, which specializes in helping veterans and first responders dealing with PTSD and addiction. Roman says alcohol was his main struggle. His stay there became a crucial turning point, one that started to put his life back on track.
No matter what, you're not fixing the core problem. And it's learn to love yourself as you are and what you look like. And that's tough when, when you have that no self-worth. It's man, people still like you. You make people laugh. You change lives. You save lives. You do this. I took this leap of faith, got this, the home that suits me. And then I'll be allowed to take my kids across the country to live with me and, live that lifestyle that, I've romanticized in my head all the time of I wish they could have grown up in.
And then there's his business, Walk On Warriors, born from his own walk-on journey at ASU.
I had that walk-on analogy, we're the ones that are overlooked, we're invited, but we keep showing up.
At the heart of it, that's what he wants to do, to empower people to keep showing up day after day, even when the odds are stacked against them.
If we talk to people and we can give them these mental health workshops for based off of, these strategies, or maybe just transition, good, they're sober for X amount of days, but sometimes they have no plan what they're doing next. They don't have a job. They got fired from this. They're dealing with this. So I kind of set up a transition workshop with that. It's more empowering to call them a walk-on warrior with the warrior attributes. Because we all are warriors and it's just lifestyle.
It really impacted me to see Roman open up about what happened after being known as Roman the Hero. Regardless of all the personal, family, and health struggles that he went through, his example taught me that you can use your hard experiences to help and inspire others. And I think we saw that with the business that he started called Walk On Warriors, which focuses on teaching others how to be resilient and have a personal transformation in their lives when things get tough.
I think it was also cool too, and just to tease a little bit of the story here, again, go listen to the whole thing, but he could have just fallen apart after everything that happened to him, but he ended up getting his degree. He got an advanced degree, and now he's a licensed therapist too. And so he could have looked at all these things and just shut down, but he found people to help him out, and then he put the work in to do something about it. And that's kind of key in all of our lives here, is to do something about it. All right, last one for me. This one was a little bit more fun, and that was Judith Johnson. We'll just call her the Texas Tech Marching Band Grandma. Tech, by the way, did an amazing story with her. Not only that you could read, but a great video of her. And it really did tell a lot of her story. And I just, even though they did that, I thought, you know what? I still want to tell her story. I've got a lot of questions to answer that I want her to answer. And it was fun. I got to talk to her and her husband. And it's a great story because she decided not to quit in life. When she was young, she wanted to be a music major when she went to college. Her parents put the kibosh on that. And, she's in her 60s. She retires and she's like, I'm going to go back to school. I want to learn about music. And her husband's like, hey, why don't you just go get a degree in music? And so she decided to do that. And not only did she do that, she decided to join the marching band. And Texas Tech, that video was amazing. And it really touched a lot of other people.
What I will tell you is that when all this started, I said, God, don't let me get a big head about this. I'm just an ordinary person doing stuff for fun. I said, please let this help somebody in some way. Anyway, the thing that's been happening is that older people will come up to me after games. Maybe they're part of the alumni, maybe they're just fans. And they'll say, I gave up on life. And I had given up doing this or that I loved, or I had just pretty much decided to throw in the towel because I was old. And I saw you, and I watched your video, and I watched your YouTube, and now I'm doing this. Now I have a new lease on life. Now I have hope again. I'm not that old. I can do this. I can do this. If you're doing it, I can do it. One guy after the Houston game, he wasn't even a Lubbock fan. He was a Houston fan, came up to me with tears in his eyes, and he goes, I had given up the trombone, and I had been through cancer treatment, and I didn't know if I was going to make it, and I didn't know if it was worth making it anymore. And he said, I saw your video, and I've joined the Houston Community Band on account of you. And I want to thank you because you helped me heal. And I thought, well, Lord, if this is what you're doing it for, then I'll keep doing it.
By the way, that was, I think, what I took away from our version of the story is how many people were touched by what Tech did for her and about her story. And the thing I appreciated about Judith's story was she never gave up on her dreams. And I don't want to give up on my dreams either. I'm getting closer and closer to Judith's age. By the way, I'm way closer to Judith's age than I am to Brandon's age. So for me, I look at that and I'm like, you know what? I can reinvent myself as time goes along and become a better person as time goes along. So that's what I appreciated about Judith's story. Brandon, thank you very much for joining us here on this episode of Big Stories Podcast. Thanks for sharing some of your favorite moments from this past season. And we thank you all for listening, subscribing, whatever you want to do with the Big Stories Podcast. We'll have one more episode that will come next week in which we'll wrap up this season of Big Stories. We'll also have a big announcement about big stories for next season. So until that happens, my name is Cleon Wall for Brandon Thorpe. Big Stories is a production of BYU Radio.